We've set, huh? All right. Good. Is it morning now? Good morning, everyone. So we are just going to start because it's meant to start at 11. So apologies for starting. How many minutes late now? 11 minutes late. So what I want to do is very simple and straight to the point. Is to explain why we are here. And what we are about is simple and can be summarized as filling in the gaps and then providing clarity. I was speaking to one of the speakers via WhatsApp during the week, and he mentioned something, and I said my prayer is that for today, that there will be clarity for those of us that will come, that there will be clarity. Because many of us know what to do, but many do not really know what to do, if you understand what that means. So the right materials are lacking, and that's the reason why there is a lot of frustration and a lot of stagnancy. So because as a pastor, you interact with a lot of people. So whilst interacting, you will see that there is a knowledge gap that must be filled, and to empower people that must be filled. And this is why we have gathered here today, to provide the materials that is needed to help fill the gap and then provide clarity. Because some of us want to break into some areas, change careers, to provide that, that clarity, and then you can come out of this place knowing exactly what to do. So that's the burden in my heart for this event. And I can confidently say that the people that will be speaking to us they are very good in what they do, the best brains, and because of their experience and their track record, and that is what has earned them the space to speak to us at this event. So I pray that there will be clarity for all of us and the capacity to fill the gaps that we need. Please listen attentively. There will be a question and answer after each session. So the speakers will speak for about 25 or 30 minutes, and then there will be about 5 to 10 minutes Q&A. If the Q&A goes longer than the allotted time, so what we will do, or if possible, if the speakers will agree, is to have what I call a Zoom session. So for those of us that are interested in that particular session, the speaker, depending on their availability, will have a Zoom session for us, and then more time can be given to answer the questions. There is also a short break at some point. There is refreshment, but beyond the refreshment is also to network, speak to other people, get connected with others, and get connected with like-minded people. So as I conclude my thought, my desire is that we'll make events like this more frequent, where people can be empowered, as we also catch a new vision to break our people into new areas of expertise and engagement, so that we are not just developing spiritual people, but we are developing what Paul says, that I wish above. He said, I pray God your whole spirit, soul, and body. So it's holistic, spirit, soul, and body. So when you have people that are sound spiritually, also we have to ensure that we are sound economically and in every area of our life. So that's the short rationale for why we are here and why we're doing what we are doing. The first speaker is Esther Olaleye. She's a project manager for 5 years now, or 10 years now, for many years. But she's been in that area for a long time. So please welcome her as she speaks to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. How are we doing this morning? How are we doing? Please don't be concerned that the hall doesn't seem to be filled with people. You're here early, and so just, I lead worship in church, and I always say, you have some Sundays where people are late to church. So I always say, don't worry about that, because I think there's something about human nature that we're just looking left to right. Like, where's everyone else? You came on time and there's something for you. So I hope that you will find some nuggets from here. So today I'm going to be speaking about how we can break into project management. And please just, as I speak, feel free to follow my slides. I'm going to be using the slides from my iPad here. So if we go to the next slide, and then at the end of the session, I will tell you a bit about myself. So Pastor's already said I'm a project manager. I've been in the field in various roles, which will be beneficial to people. So I don't know if the people here, is anyone interested in breaking into project management? Okay, one person, two people. Okay, that's good. Oh, 3 people. Okay, more than enough. Okay, everyone is interested. Actually, we're all project managers in one way, shape, or form. I know when I was not a project manager, even when I was doing like project admin, project support, which are some of the roles we can break into to get into that, I always used to think that it was something like, it just seemed like this elusive dream that only special people with special brains could break into, but that's a lie. And I'm sure when you hear the other speakers speak as well, they will say the same thing. So what I thought was I would just go through some key things. This is not a training on project management, but it's important that we begin to think like project managers, especially for the people who want to break in. Because one of the key things about any industry you have, and specifically project management, is the ability to use the terminology. So if you don't use the terminology and you're having a conversation, so this could be a networking event of 100 people, and there are 50 project directors here, and you know that, and you go to speak to them. Oh, so what projects have you worked on? What experience do you have? And you don't have the vocabulary to support your desire, because really you're networking with them, hoping that they will give you contacts, or they will invite you, or there will be mentoring or coaching opportunities. But if you don't understand the language, you could actually be doing yourself a big disservice. So we're going to look at some of the things surrounding project management, and then we're going to go a bit granular. So as we go down the slides, there might not be much content, but a lot more talking points. So I've given 3 definitions for project management. So one is from the Project Management Institute, which defines project management as the use of specific knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to deliver something of value to people. So at the end of it all, we want to deliver something of value. So in countries like Nigeria and maybe America, when you tell people that I'm a project manager, they always think of these grandiose things. Last March, when I was here with the church, we had the inaugural service. That was a project because, and as we will see, that was a project. We were delivering something of value to the people, to every single person. Thank you. So when you begin to think of it in those terms, it's not, oh, I'm a project manager, I did this, I did that. You're delivering something of value. If there's no value, then it's not, I would say that it's something that was shaping itself to be a project, but it didn't quite hit the mark. So we begin to think about that, using specific knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques. So at Zelos, which is the corporation that does Prince 2. So I don't know how many people have heard of Prince 2. You've heard of Prince 2, okay, most people have heard. I'm Prince 2 certified, so I did my Prince 2 foundation and practitioner, so I'm a Prince 2 certified project manager. So at Zelos, they're in charge of all that, and that's what you will find on this side of the world. So if you go to America, I think it might be PMP and all that, but here it's Prince 2. And what they said is that a project management is defined as the discipline of applying specific processes and principles to initiate, plan, execute, and manage the way new initiatives or changes are implemented within an organization. So there are now some additional things. So in the first definition, we saw specific knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques. But here they're saying you use specific processes. So there's specific things that need to be done and principles that must be applied to the change that you're trying to initiate within an organization. And that includes initiation, planning, execution, and managing the way those changes or initiatives are implemented within that organization. So it's not what you would do on your day-to-day, which is called your business as usual. So it's not a business as usual. So the company I currently work on, I'm tempted to say most times that the projects that I'm working on, some of the projects, they're just BAU things because they have the same people who are making the same decisions. So there's no they just, and they're the same blockers. So there's a project we run every year. So I work for an organization called the General Council of the Bar. So they're the organization that regulates and represents all barristers in the United Kingdom and Wales. And one of the things as a barrister you must have every year, I'm sure that there will be the equivalent for solicitors, is you have to have a yearly practicing certificate. So at the end of March, I believe, either February or March, that practice certificate comes to an end, and then you have to go through a process of renewal. And what my organization has done, there's a whole process behind that. And they open up the renewal portal. People apply to get their certificates. New barristers that have newly qualified, they apply to get their certificates. If you don't have that certificate at the end of that period, you cannot practice legally in the United Kingdom. So that goes on every year. That's a yearly thing. So I would dare say that that's a business as usual activity, but in my organization it's termed a project. Why? Because maybe there are additional things they want to add to it. Maybe they want to make modifications to the process, they want to add new things. So to them it's a project, but to me it's a business as usual activity because we know it's coming, we know what we're going to do. So you see now, I've used that as an example to explain what is business as usual. So for you, business as usual could be that, okay, every month we have this process. Pardon? You get paid. Yeah, so for HR, that's a project they're working to, but for them, it's a business as usual activity. That would never change. It's the same. It's the same every month. Tolu, please, can you help me with the screen? It's gone blank there. My timer is. Thank you. Yeah, because I started talking. I didn't know that I had this much to say. But yeah, so it's important that we separate projects from business as usual activities. So one of the actions or activities you need to take away is look at the processes that you currently have now. Which ones are things that so think of BAU as things that they could be cyclical. The only thing that will take it from the arena of being a BAU activity to being a project is if you're delivering a change. So a change could be a business change. So let's say you work for an organization and they only use paper-based processes. You now want to take the company from paper-based processes to maybe digital processes. That is a project. Even though at the end of it, you're still going to be doing the same thing. Or you're delivering a major business change. So change can be all sorts of things. It could be something for a department, something for a unit, something for the entire organization. It could be an overhaul of systems that are being used. It could be a location project. You're moving from one location to another. It could be an office refurb. That's a project. So you see, when we begin to think of projects in that way, we see that actually it's not it's not like this thing that I'm reaching out to catch. And it doesn't matter what industry you've come from or what experience, and I know that's what most people are interested in. We'll get to that point. So it doesn't matter. Once you begin to change your mindset and see, okay, I'm doing this thing. Okay, if you're looking for work, you're out of work, or you're studying and you need to get a job, see that as a project. And what are the processes you need to, what is the end goal? Obviously, the end goal is delivering value to yourself and to the new organization, which is they recruit you as a new member of staff and you get a job. So that's the end goal, that's the value. Okay, how long is that process going to take? How much time do you have between where you are now and where you want to be? Is there any finances involved? You know, all those things. So when we begin to think of that, you see that you're already thinking as a project manager, right? So these are the things that project managers do on a daily basis. It's just that they have the job title and they're more experienced and they know how to speak, they speak. So that's why I'm saying it's important that we begin to understand and start using the terminology. So let's go. So I found a simpler, if we go to the next slide, what is project management too? So in simple terms, project management, as I've been saying, is the process of leading a team to hit goals or complete deliverables within a set time frame, and that is very, very important. If we go to the next slide, what is a project? I've already talked about it, but I want to use this definition. This is also from Axilogs. So a project is a temporary venture. So if it's ongoing, if it's going on and on and on, it has no end date. It is not a project. No matter what the organization or the directors or the CEO or your boss tells you, that is not a project. And we've already talked, it exists to deliver a defined outcome. So the next paragraph says, each project will have agreed and unique objectives as well as its own project plans, budget, timescales, deliverables, and tasks. So I started talking about that. So it has to have a start date and an end date. You will have a plan. So your plan is just, think of it as a very complex to-do list. So some people write lists down, but think of it digitally as a to-do list. All the things, if you're building a house, what are all the things we need to do? Those would be your high-level plans. Or what are we trying to achieve? What do we want the house to look like? Where is it going to be based? Okay. And then maybe you put each thing down on blocks, and then for each block, for each column, you break it down into smaller chunks until you get to the littlest task that you would do, the very first thing you can do to begin to move forward in that dream or in that project of building a house. So that's what we mean by deliverables and tasks. And timescales, when you begin to note that down, you have an understanding of, okay, how long will each task take? How long will it take me to get it done? And what is the impact of that, the timing for each task on the time I have, the time frame. So when we talk about time frame in project management, we're talking of how much time we have to deliver a project. And then that can be broken down per task and per deliverable. And then budget just simply means money. Yes, money. You know, in organizations, everything runs on money. So if there's no money, they're not going to do the project, no matter how critical it is. They may say, okay, they'll shift it to the next business year. But money is very key. And as a project manager, one of the skills you need to have is how to manage your budget. So at this point, it's important for me to note that not all project managers deal with budget or forecasting. So if you have that opportunity as a project manager or in your current role right now. So I know some people have bookkeeping, maybe they manage finances. Before I became a project manager, one of the things I developed was in my choir, I became the treasury, or I was supporting someone who was on the treasury, and I put that down on my CV to say, okay, I've managed my church choir's account. What was I doing? They were collecting dues. I had to make a note of it. Okay, what did we spend it on? And give a report on that. That is a key skill that is needed within project management. So breaking into project management is not just becoming a project manager, although I know most people want to be project managers, but you know, there's so many ways that we can do it. So that's budgeting, and project plan is just all your to-do list, putting it in a way, it could be in a visually pleasing format, in an Excel template, Word, whatever works for you, you put it in that. If someone wants to see, okay, what are we doing? How is it broken down? You can show somebody else and they know, okay, this is where we are on the project, this is what needs to be done, this is what we've done, and this is when it is anticipated that we will deliver this project. Okay? So when working in project management, you most definitely will be working with different people. So it's not just yourself. And one of the key skills needed to work in project management is the ability to be a team player, or the ability to work with multidisciplinary teams. And what does that mean? It just means being able to work with people who have different skills. So as a project manager, I work with business analysts, I work with solutions architects, I work with infrastructure managers, I work with business change managers, I work with HR, I work with facilities, I work with operations department. In my old role, I worked very closely with the commercial manager, so I learned a few things. I work with finance because there's contract signing involved. If I'm managing budget, or if I have to pay for things, I have to sit down with them and show them what I've spent against the budget of the project. Then I work with project support. I work with the project management office. I work with directors, I report up. When I say I work, some of them I report to them, and some of them I'm having meetings with them, or some of them they're providing input into my project. So that is a multidisciplinary skill. Of all the people I've mentioned, or all the roles I've mentioned, some of them will make up the project team. And a project team is made up of the different skills that would work on a day-to-day basis, depending on the resource allocation of the organization. So they could be working maybe 20% of their time or 50% of their time, because we all have things that we must do in our job on a daily basis. So the difference with me is that I'm a full-time project manager, but a business analyst is not a full-time project manager. So for a project, they may get allocated to it 20% or 30% of their time. So project managers work with different skills, different roles. And so if you've ever worked as part of a team, think of the roles that you've worked with and how you interacted with them. It doesn't mean if you supported them, if you worked on the same level, if you managed them, just think of it. That is an ability to work with multidisciplinary, cross-functional teams. So if we go to the next element, and we've touched on this, but it's just a visual of the key elements of project management. So we talked about time, talked about cost, we talked about scope and quality. So I won't go over quality, time, or cost because I've gone into that. So scope essentially just means what is the remit of the project. So if we have, I'm just going to come here just for illustration. You can ignore this, and when I'm finished, you can keep going. So let's say this was a very big circle, and then you have this small circle in here. This small circle is your project scope, and this big circle is all the things that you could do, but this is the only thing that has been signed off officially by the organization. If you do anything beyond this, you have to seek permission, because it could impact on what you're delivering, the original purpose behind the project. It could impact on the time, it could impact on the quality, the end quality of what is going to be delivered, and it could also impact on finances. I'll see if this slide can be sent over. I'm just going to gloss over this one. So that was key elements. So the next thing that we'll look at is approaches. So project management approach, there are two major approaches. I'm not saying those are the only two things, but there are two major approaches to project management. And when we say approaches, it just talks about how you deliver a project. So there's the waterfall approach, and then there's the agile approach. The waterfall approach just means you go through, once I've done A, then I do B. Once I've done B, then I do C. It's very traditional, and that is what Prince 2 lends itself to. Although Prince 2 will tell you that you can tailor it to the organization that you're a part of. And if you work as part of a project team, or you've ever had the opportunity to work on a project or with project managers or the project office, you will see that every organization does it differently. So where I am now, as far as I'm concerned, they're not delivering projects the way that I was taught. In fact, I feel like some of the skills that I picked up in my old role, I have not even scratched the surface of it here. So in this role, I'm doing things like managing change requests, managing meetings, which are some of the things, but it's just not your typical project management role, just because of the way the organization is set up. And it's such a small organization. And if you ever get the opportunity to work, let's just stay on approaches, thank you. If you ever get the opportunity to work in a legal environment, you will see that they're not always quick to change their processes. They're very, very comfortable doing what they've done over the years, and it takes a lot of engagement and a lot of work to begin to transition them from where they are to where you want them to be. So Prince 2 states that their approach is a very structured methodology, and as I said, you can tailor it to fit. So it doesn't matter if it's a small project, being manned by 2 people, or a large project that is taking maybe the 50 people. So you can be a part of a project team or part of a program office where you have over 50 people working on a project or different elements of projects that fit into a wider program. And that is out of the remit of today, but if there are any questions or anyone wants to speak to me later, I can go a bit more into that. And then the other approach, which is taking has gained so much momentum, and you will see it more in the IT industry, possibly, I don't know about construction, I don't work in construction, but maybe, so is the agile approach. And that's just an approach. Agile is an approach, and there are different types of agile methodology. So I don't know if anyone has heard of Scrum, if anyone has heard of Lean, there are different things. So when people say agile, you need to be able to break it down and say, okay, which agile methodology are you using? Don't just say, because if you speak to someone and you say, oh yes, I can do agile, which agile methodology are you familiar with? So if you're interested in breaking into project management, then that would be something. So if you go into like maybe a tech company, they would most likely be using an agile approach. And what that just means is that it's a process whereby you're delivering bite-sized business change or benefits to the organization. So see, it's called an iterative process. So let's say you have a circle and you're starting here. So this is the circle, just imagine it with me. And there's an arrow pointing this way. This is the start of the process. You come here, you do something, you review it to everyone, you test it with the team, and then you deliver it to the organization. The organization will look at it and say, oh yes, we're very happy with it. Please keep going. And you continue that process over and over again. So a very simple example is our phones. We all have mobile phones, right? And every so often we get updates or requests to update your phone. That is an example of a project being done in an agile way. So they never say, okay, in 2020, they will never say in 2023, we're going to deliver all the updates we want to our iPhone or Android phone or whatever, because that will cost so much time. And by the time they've done it, technology would have changed. And the reason why a lot of organizations use the agile approach is because of how fast technology changes. So they deliver it in small chunks. So it's like, okay, this month you're gonna know your phone will be able to do this. Next month your phone will be able to do this, and it's better for them because they can see the value. And if they deliver something that their clients don't want, they can roll it back and just go back to how it was before. So that's basically what agile. That's just an overview of agile. You would appreciate that I'm not giving. I'm not training on project management techniques. It's just an overview. Okay, so if we move to the next slide, now we begin to come into the key things for breaking into project management. Some of the key skills you need to work in this area, regardless of what industry you are in, because project management is made up of key transferable skills. So some of the skills that you would need, I've put them in a word cloud over there. So one of the key skills, one of the major skills you would need is communication skills. You'd need negotiation skills. You'd need influencing skills, how to manage stakeholders. So stakeholders basically is all the people that you liaise with and how you manage them. I always say to people that a lot of project management is just made on being able to relate with people and help them achieve what they want to achieve. And if you understand your role, specifically if you're a project manager, you're not there to get people to work for you, but you're there to help people achieve what they want. That's what it means by stakeholder management. So you will do a lot of facilitation, you will do a lot of planning, you will do a lot of updates, you will deliver a lot of presentations. So those are some of the skills. So if we move to the next slide, I just said we should take 1 minute now, because my time is fast coming to an end, to do a skills audit in your current role. So this is for those people who want to break into project management. Do a skills audit of where you are. What skills do you currently use? Do you set up meetings? Do you facilitate those meetings? Do you take minutes? Do you Do you take notes of actions? Do you follow up on those actions? Do you do any of that? That's a skill. That's facilitation skill. Do you manage a team of people? Are you a line manager? That's leadership skills. Or do you work as part of a team where you are responsible for one major element of an activity? That's a management skill. I talked about business stakeholder management. And then just being business savvy. You know, I'm not saying you have to have a degree in business, but just being with it, having an understanding of what your organization is about, what they're trying to achieve, etc. That's that. Planning. If you don't know how to plan, that is part of the bread and butter of a project manager, not even to talk of someone who's trying to break into project management. So if you've never done planning before, I would encourage you to go online and begin to look at project plans. It can be in various formats, so it doesn't have to be one of the major formats. And thank God for technology, but one of the key project management tool is Microsoft Project, but that's actually very complex. Not everyone can use it, but there's cloud-based technology softwares that you can use to plan. So you may have heard of Smartsheets, Monday, Trello, Asana. There's so many different things. So I always have a play around. If you come into my Google Drive, you just see I just create project plans for different things, just to see, okay, how do I list the tasks? How do I know, so we can talk about that another day. So those are some of the primary skills. So do an audit of the skills you have right now, and then begin to make a note of them. So if you go to the next slide, please. Because this session is titled, Breaking into Project Management Roles. I've tried not to focus so much on what you need to do to be a project manager, and I've tried not to talk about, oh, you must go and get this training or that training, although training is important, but because, I don't think there's any new school leaver or someone who's just finished from university, first degree. If you're doing your master's, will permit you, but you're not like, it's most likely that everyone is working or everyone has worked. You have those skills. Even if you've not worked in a secular environment, if you worked in the church office, you have those skills. I talked about some skills that I picked up, just managing my choir's treasury account, doing admin for them. What else? I've done so many things. And right now, I'm in a leadership position in my choir, but some of those skills, I use them on my job. So I had the opportunity to do auditions. That's interviewing skills. So if you have all those things, I want us to begin to have that mindset. Look at what I have now. How can I apply it to the roles? So some project management roles are project administration. Basically, that's just project admin. So you help them book meetings, diary management, you take calls, you make notes, you prepare papers, all those things. It may look like very elementary, but those are part of the skills. A good project manager is able to do everything. You don't need to have done all the roles before you become a project manager, but a good project manager can do everything. So in my current role, I don't have a project support officer. So I do all my planning for myself. I set up all my meetings. I take all my notes. I chase my actions, I log my risks, I do everything myself. But that would be what a project administrator or a project support individual would use. Okay, that's ignore the third one. A project analyst, that's more technical and that's more niche. A project coordinator, you may be planning the project office or what, just different things. Project control, so if there are major controls, a project control could be the risk log, and that's just basically where you log all the risks. A action log, different types of logs, and that project controls could be managing it. It could be like maybe a financial, I don't know if you've heard of roles called financial controllers. Obviously that's within the finance field. So, if you begin to see that if the project manager role is elusive to me, what is the equivalent? Or how can I use this way to get in? Project planners, they deal a lot with plans. Project lead, obviously that person is the lead on the project, equivalent to project manager. And then you have project director. Another equivalence, on the flip side of it, I talked about not having a project support officer. So we have what we call the project management office. So a project management office is the engine that drives projects in an organization. And in that office, you have PMO officers, you have PMO support, you have PMO analysts, you have specialists, you have PMO managers, you have head of PMO, and then you have PMO and directors. Okay, that's my time. Should I round up? Okay, thank you. I've got 5 more minutes. So if you go to the next slide, please. How can you leverage the skills you have? That is the key thing. How can we leverage the skills we have? So I will move on. I've done an action plan. I've created a mini action plan for you. Actually, if you go to the next slide, please. So this is what you call a SWOT analysis. And this is something I did many, many years ago before I got my first project management job. But by this time, I'd done so many things. And I was in a place of frustration, and I just thought, okay, let me start somewhere and list some things. I did that. So this is an example of what I did many years ago. And I had people that I was working with just have a look at it to tell me, because sometimes you can think, oh, I'm good at this or I'm bad at that, and people will say otherwise. So when you're doing a SWOT analysis, you can begin by putting some things down and then speaking to a few trusted people in your personal life and where you currently are, where you work, and ask them what they think. What do you think my strengths are? What do you think my weaknesses are? What can I do to improve? What opportunities do I have within the organization to work, to use my strengths? So opportunities in where you are currently, because some of us might not be able to leave our jobs right now to get into project management. Could be go to your line manager and ask, okay, are there any projects that I can be a part of? Do you have anything you want me to do? And just begin to take the lead. That is taking the lead of your career, of where you are, pushing it in the direction you want. So that was some of the things. I used to work as project admin, and I was doing photocopying, I was setting up meetings, arranging chairs, doing teas and coffees. And I was like, I'm a graduate. I went to law school. For goodness sake, I don't understand why I'm in this place. I'm a lawyer, but I didn't take that path. So why am I doing this? And it's not to say that that job was wrong, but there are times where we go through some things that we don't understand. And in that role, it just felt like there was a concerted effort to just keep putting me down, to make me feel like I didn't understand anything. And if you're in that situation where you're doing something that is way below where you are, it's not the end of the world. Just think of one thing that you can use to fight your way out. So I started asking my manager, what can I do? Can I be a part of this? Can I be a part of that? And I had a lot of failures, but here I am today. And when I finally got the so-called job with a project manager title, I was just like, oh wow, is this it? So that's why I said at the beginning, it can seem like this thing that is so big that is only for special people. It is for everyone, if that is the direction you want to go into, right? So this helped me on my journey. So you might want to do a SWOT analysis. I did it, I was breaking it up for my soft skills and my technical skills, because you do need technical skills. I haven't talked about that at all. You do need technical skills. So in your own time, please do a SWOT analysis. And then if we go to the next slide, what I also did, because this was me working on a plan to get myself out of where I was to where I'm at the top. I've changed it to 23, but I did this many, many years ago. So this is a 6-month plan. What can I do alongside my boring or suffocating job? What can I be doing now? Because you have to take your career by yourself. No one will move it forward for you. If you're in a role that you don't like, as long as you're delivering the output that they want, they are not going to give you another job. If you don't tell them, I want a promotion, I want a new job, I'm not happy, they won't give it to you. And this has nothing to do with race. You have to own it. No one is going to help you. I was in a job, I did it for almost 4 years. And then the roles were going permanent, same job, but I decided I would apply for a role higher than what I was doing. And they asked me, why are you going for a higher role? I said, well, I've done it for so long. I want something else. They didn't give me the job because they said I gave junior responses to some of the interview questions. And I just left. They asked me, if you don't get it, what will you do? I said I would leave. When I was saying it, I didn't believe it. I didn't think it would happen. But that was what happened, and that was what changed my life. Actually, I left that. I got contract role. I started earning more money, and it's been going up, actually. So those are some of the things. So create a 6-month plan, a 12-month plan, that you can do and begin to work on it. So we haven't even talked about, so that's just a very rough overview of some things that you can do where you are. Leverage your skill, speak up. If they ask you to do a presentation, I said that presentation is part of what project managers do. Volunteer to speak. If they want to set up a committee, volunteer to be on it, because when you begin to do those things, they see that you're actually very serious. Your name is on the top of their list, and they begin to call you for things that you may not know how to do. But if you say yes, you will get those skills. We don't always get what we want handed on a platter. Sometimes we have to go for it. So as part of that action plan, you would need to look at your CV. What I say to people is, look at the CV of other people who are doing what you want to do. See what they've written down. If you have the opportunity, speak to them, ask them how they got this, ask them about specific skills, and see how you can get it. We shouldn't always be in a rush to go and start doing training, because sometimes you do it and there's no opportunities. But if you leverage where you are and do all those things alongside it, you will get what you want. And then the final thing is your LinkedIn profile as well. If you don't have a LinkedIn profile, please see me after the workshop and I'll speak with you, because my time is up. So thank you. I hope some people, you found it beneficial. You've picked up 1 or 2 things. Thank you very much. I was just about to say God bless you.
Does anyone have a question for her?
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Thank you for the presentation. My name is Kolapo. All right. So I have handled a lot of projects, and I handled companies. And the last company I handled in Nigeria was about 35 staffs.
Okay.
That went to 50 staffs, both temporary and permanent staffs. So this is where I'm going to. So I've gone through operations, I've gone through project management, I've handled the company whereby I've been a project owner,
Yes.
project manager,
Okay.
so to speak. And I saw Coursera there. I've done strategic leadership management course in Coursera. I'm doing global project management right now. I've done a lot of e-courses like that.
Yeah.
Then getting to the UK, I discovered that it's a little different. Your experience back home is not tenable, so to speak. Then you have to have a different experience here in the UK that really actually stands for what you really do. But you have all those skills inside of you.
Yeah.
Back at home, it's totally a little bit different because you don't actually have something to mark your progress, or probably maybe the technology to actually go through the agile methodology, or probably the Sigma methodology and stuff like that. But how do you relate with that and get into the market and be relevant in the market and not be doing all the shady jobs and get yourself right positioned well without doing the Prince 2? Well, actually, I've done Prince 2 in 2012.
Okay.
I did foundation Prince 2. But without going through all those things, how do you put yourself in the market?
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you. That's a very, very good question. And, I've been in interviews where I've seen some CVs and I automatically know, okay, maybe I don't know if they're Nigerian but you know that, okay, this is someone that's just recently come into the UK and they have a lot of skills. One of the key things, one of the first places to start is that same CV and how you've structured it. Some of the CVs that I've seen, I saw one CV and the person said, oh, they're project manager. they were applying for a project manager role of over 50K, but their job description of what they'd done was nothing to do with project management. It had none of the terminologies, you know. It was not properly structured. So it was just, they are not even being invited in for an interview. So it was an automatic no, because they were saying one thing in their cover letter, but their CV did not match up. So that's one of the first places, or one of the best places to start. Look at your CV. Don't just dump it. Oh, okay, I did this, I did that. How does it make sense? Have I listed my key achievements, what I'm doing currently? And it is a very real problem, what you've highlighted, crossing over from Africa specifically, because I work with, when I worked for London Transport, and they had a lot of South Africans. They're technically Africans, but they are South Africans. And they were getting into management roles, heads of departments, heads of programs, heads of service, directors. So it was like they were going to those places. So there is something that we have to acknowledge, but I think it's more about how you are putting the packaging, really. And then sometimes you have to go a roundabout route. So a good roundabout route for someone like you, because you're very skilled, could be to go into contracting. So contracting will give you that UK experience that you're looking for. So with contracting, I would just say, okay, if you're looking for a project manager specific role, because you have that, you know, put all your Nigerian companies or the organizations you worked for, what you've done, because you have everything. You could be a project director. That's kind of like the roles based on what you just said that you should be shooting for. And I can speak to you after, because I know a couple of project directors, so I can see if they'll be happy to have a chat with you on what to do. But contracting is a good role, because some contracts are 3 months, 6 months, whatever. You just structure it. They call you, okay, can you do this? Can you do that? I'm making it sound very simple, but it could be that simple. When I got my first contract role, I didn't believe it. And I just thought, okay, I've been struggling for years trying to make this small money. I got the role and that was it. So contract role could be a good thing for you, you know, because that could be a way to get in. And then you begin to look for specific roles within contracts, because with perm roles, you don't have that much, you have to go through their own process. But with contract roles, you're looking for roles specifically that match your skill set. And you can determine, okay, I want this role, I don't want this role. So I would say maybe actually look to that. Another thing to do would be to join organizations. So project management organizations. So there's the Association of Project Management that you can join. You could also be, I don't know if you can be a volunteer, but there are things that you can do, and you could get their logo and their certification, their logo that you can put on your LinkedIn profile. Because sometimes it's those little things that open you up. Because the recruitment system in the UK is funny. You know, they're looking for like keywords, key buzzwords, and if you don't have it, that's why I said firstly, your CV. If you don't have those things, even if you're the best qualified, they will automatically just pass you over. So that's another thing to do. Join associations, you know, go for all those things, and then networking events. We cannot underestimate the value of networking events. That's one, because you get access to people that you wouldn't normally, because of the prejudice that exists in the system, because that's really what you've highlighted, that there is an obvious bias against people coming from Africa. So it just means that it might take you a bit longer, but you will get there eventually. It's just about being strategic in how you do it. Another thing, 2 more things that you need to consider would be to get a mentor, a UK-based mentor. So I would suggest a project director for yourself. You know, and you can go on LinkedIn and find people. If you know contacts, speak to them and just begin to do some things. If they have the opportunity to get you coming on a secondment or volunteer basis, you begin to pick up the skills, because you talked about getting UK-based skills, and it's very important. If you don't actually have an ounce of UK-based skills, for them to give you that role, they're almost going on a chance. They don't really know. It's based on what you said. That's why I've suggested also the contract role, or maybe a remote role could work as well. And then finally, having a coach as well, like a project management coach. So those would be some of the things, but I'm happy to have a chat with you after this session. Yeah, thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Shedro. Judging from what Kolapana said, so he's got loads of experience.
Yes.
For someone like me trying to break into IT,
Yes.
pressure, I find it frustrating that if with the wealth of experience he has, he still needs like a mentor, he needs to volunteer. So what I need for someone like him.
Do you know
It looks deep.
We all need mentors. So when I got my first PM role, although I didn't follow through, like I didn't stick with that mentor, and I didn't even know, I spoke to someone. It's about the way I heard someone say, so she worked in finance, banking and finance, but she's the top of her field. She studied in Nigeria, she studied law and came here, but she's managed to leverage on mentors, coaches, having champions, people that had champions in the organization. And it's just about identifying key people that believe in you. So my last role, I connected with the person I thought would make my life hell at that role. She wouldn't respond to me. She was a project sponsor on a project that I was working on, and she was just very abrasive. So I spoke to some people and I did some research. How can I get to know people, or how can I make my working life better? So I would ask her things. Oh, hello, how are you? Very mundane little things. Okay, what did you do today? Blah blah blah. She bakes cake, I eat the cake. But then I started asking her questions. This is where I am. In fact, she told me, I hope you don't plan to be in this place for more than 2 years. And then she started giving me tips on what to do. But if I didn't take that step, so if you don't have work, it's slightly different. Then you would need to go through the volunteer route. So I mentioned that I'm a lawyer, but I'm not working as a lawyer. I'm currently working as a project manager. One of the things that lawyers would need to do, aspiring lawyers, is volunteer. If you don't have work, not everyone will have the opportunity to get a role as a paralegal, which is kind of like legal admin plus more. Not everyone will get that opportunity. What else can you do? There's an organization called the Free Representation Unit. There's Law Society. You volunteer and you put those things on your CV. When they see that you've got those things, they know you're serious and they know that you are focused. You just don't know the thing that you will do to break it for you. So for someone like you, if you're in IT, you need all those certifications. So you can't shy away from that. You need those certifications, but you need to now get a mentor that's doing what you want to do. And that mentor could be your friend that's already doing what you want to do. And they can give you tips on how they got in, what job they did. And even if you apply for their same job, you may apply for a job and get a job, your first job or your significant first UK job, if that's where you are, that is higher than where they started from. So it's just opening up your mind. So I know that back home it's work, but here a lot of things, regardless of what level you are on. If I decide I want to be a director now, I need to get a coach, a mentor, because I don't know the path, and they will give me activities. They will draw out an action plan of goals that I need to achieve to get to that point. So it could be that, okay, now I'm a project manager. Either go for senior project management role or go into program management. The different things, and these are the certifications you need to do. These are the roles you need to get. This is how they will now probably tell me to start speaking more to directors and chief execs. So it's all those things, but it's still the same process, mentorship, volunteering and all that. So they're very big on that on this side of the world. And I think if you have the opportunity, you should take it. Take it with both hands and don't feel bad about it, because you just never know. Sometimes you volunteer for only 2 weeks and get the job that you've been wanting. And sometimes it takes longer, but you're doing things to keep you going, knowing that there is an end goal, which is why I talked about the action plan. So if you're in a role, your action plan could be, I do my 9-to-5 job, and then at the end of it, these are the other things I'm doing that are feeding into where I want to be. So yeah, but as an IT professional, certifications. You can't run away. My brother-in-law does. I think that's his bread and butter. He's always doing certifications. Yeah. Thank you for the question. Any more questions? No? Okay. Thank you very much, everyone.
I think that was very good, isn't it? There will be... Tolu, just stop it. And let's just start. So there will be